Philly is one of those places where you kind of gotta like stamp yourself somewhat. If you're gonna be a fighter, you're a fighter. If you wanna be a hustler, you're gonna be a hustler. So you gotta kind of fit in somewhere in Philadelphia to kind of like get what people know you for. You gotta really be good, you know, to get outside of the city for a talent, any type of talent. You have to really be good, and you're gonna get knocked down millions of times. You gotta keep getting up, and that kind of makes you. So it ain't no weak walking around. You just can't.
Besides art, his other love was basketball.
At an early age, he was like groomed to play sports.
He was always a starter. I was his main cheerleader, went to every game. I drove him and his boys. I drove him a car, didn't have no air conditioning, they had no heat, but they was packed up in there.
I took him up to Scranton to college, to basketball. He was going to get a scholarship up in there, and the coach told him about getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. On the way back, Raheem said, he must be crazy. Think I'm going to get up at 5 o'clock and to run around some track. Raheem went to California to a school, and he didn't like it out there, and then he went to Kansas.
And it was literally like, everybody's 6'2", everybody can shoot a three, everybody can dunk. It was just something in me that was like, you can do something that like everybody can't do.
He stayed out there for a term and he came home. Then he really got into the art stuff.
The first time I started laying down this type of color palette was when I was doing t-shirts. All of the sneakers had to match the shirts that I was doing. So my friends would bring around the sneakers that they just bought and say, yo, I need this to match these. I just took from all the fashion because I never went to an art gallery as a young kid. I never went to a museum.
Raheem seemed to just have this knack of taking paint and putting it together and making it ignite themselves.
It's not a lot of color in West Philly other than you go to a mural or something like that, but like it's regular dull colors outside. It's probably like tan, brown, dark reds, grays. So when I created, I always wanted to like make people just see something they don't normally see. All these different things that I was consuming and seeing outside, the drug dealers wearing the Sergio Tacchini sweatsuits that was literally an abstract sweatsuit. That just always bugged me out, and it just always mesmerized me to the point where I figured if I did art and I painted, if it wasn't amazing tropical colors, it wouldn't get seen where I was at. This was like one of the first pieces I did for my grandpa. You know, he listened to jazz, he loves musicians, blues players, so I thought that would have been dope for him. I've always seen art at a young age, just always around the houses, you know what I mean? I didn't really ask too many questions because I just was like, I guess every house has art until I started going into like my friends' houses and nobody had art. So then I started asking questions like, okay, well, who did this and who did this? And my grandpa did this one maybe a few years ago. But he would tell me stories when he was 6 and he would be like the artist of the school. He would do like the auditorium stuff, you know what I mean, for the school at a young age.
When I was in school, they thought I was going to be an artist, but I never thought about doing it as a living. You couldn't make money back in the late 40s, early 50s being an artist. So I had to get a job. And I had more kids, had to make more money.
I mean, for real, like 2011, I quit my job and I was working with a bunch of people that, you know, they would always complain and always say, if I didn't have kids, I wouldn't be doing overtimes and all this other stuff. And I'm just like, yo, I gotta quit this job before I had kids. And it's like, didn't know exactly what I wanted to do, but I had an idea of what I think I could do. But the environment was just like telling me no, you know what I'm saying? But I always had great people around that was just like, go in this direction, him, you could do it, him, you could do it. Just making it out of like this environment past 20 years old, you know what I'm saying? It's like real hard.
I was really a product of the streets. So I had to figure out a way to not expose him to like my lifestyle and give him a chance to really grow up.
As far as the neighborhood he grew up at, it was pretty bad, but then it just got worse.
I'm not an old guy, and it's like 80% of my friends is dead. 80%. And they wasn't past 25 years old. Pop was the oldest, he was 27. And it's just like, that's crazy, man. That was my reality, because that's when I said, yo, I'm gonna do this, and if I fail, it is what it is. But I can always go get a job. I know I can go do some regular shit anytime I feel like it. Let me try to do something that nobody would ever think. So JP the Money Bear, right? You know, it comes from my best friend that passed away from cancer, and it also has my grandmother's birthday on the back, so I think that's pretty dope too to have in the house. JP and my grandma both passed away from cancer in a very, very close time span. JP passed in 13, my grandma passed in 17. So in the midst of all of this, I'm like chasing a dream. JP was sitting in my mom's basement with me one day when I was creating, and he was saying, you need to do something like this. If I see it in Africa, I'll know that's you. You know what I mean? So that's where the bear came about. And then when he passed away from cancer, I was in LA and I sold my first bear piece because I had a bunch of abstract stuff. I sold my first bear piece to get back home. It was just like signs going off. And I was just like, wow, maybe I should just start really working on this bear. I think like JP the Money Bear was just like crazy in all different types of ways because it brought awareness to cancer. It brought awareness to my best friend, how he went out and how he lived when he was here. He pushed me to get to this point. My grandma super pushed me to get to this point. The strongest figures in this journey, I made a toy out of them. You know what I mean? When he passed away, you just sit and you have memories and you think and you just recollect all kinds of conversations and what they said do and don't do. And I just remember going back, just always remembering him talking about 1, 2, 3, 4. He would always see 12:34 on the clock. And he used to ask me, like, hey, what do you think this means? And I'm like, bro, I don't know. Maybe you're just lucky. You look at the clock at the same time. I don't know. It didn't happen automatically. I started asking people, yo, what do 1, 2, 3, 4 mean? Does that mean anything? And I started meeting all kinds of different people. So I met this one lady and she was like, oh my God, yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4 means when you start something, you have to finish it. 1 through 4 means you gotta have the faith, then the thought of doing, then it actually being done. And when she told me that, I was like, yo. The 1 was him like, yo, you need to leave your job. The 2 was me believing it, then really leaving my job and doing it. Now I'm in the 4 area where it's just going on and I'm like, yo, how is this going on every day? And sometimes I gotta like snap and pinch myself like all this going on.
So I had heard all about King Saladeen's work in the community because he's from Southwest Philly. He was already giving back with a lot of folks who still live in the neighborhood. And fortunately enough, someone called my office and told me he wanted to do a little bit more. When
I first started, like I was selling t-shirts, glasses, everything. You know what I'm saying? So I say, if people are like this amazed by what I'm doing, or if somebody would even have the time to bid on a painting that I did, to raise money, to help a situation, and I could be a part of that, it's like, I'm a nut if I ain't doing stuff like that.
This year in Delaware County, we gave out over 400 book bags. Last year, we gave out over 200 turkeys to families in need for the Thanksgiving holiday. And it's partnerships like that, neighbors being there in time of need. I'm so grateful that he hasn't forgotten where he came from because he's continuing to contribute to families in this neighborhood.
They asked me, what spots in Philadelphia do you think that you need to go to like reflect back on your life? And it's definitely was the playground, just based on the hours and just years that I put in and just work by myself when nobody was at the playground. Me going up to the playground at 6 o'clock in the morning to go work on my game and stuff like that was like, it just built something in me that kind of blocked me out from everything that was around the playground. And it kind of kept me really focused in an environment where it was just like, just all kinds of crazy stuff going on. That's why, you know, that was one of my things where if I was to give back, I had to go there. I couldn't go to some other park or I couldn't go to something that somebody set up for me. It wouldn't be organic. So the give back stuff, that only came about when I talked to JP or people that was kind of more culture or outside of certain things. So JP was the person that was like, yo, if I ever made millions of dollars and I died, I would like donate it to like tennis foundations and like kids that's sick and all this other stuff. I never came from that and I didn't understand how that is like a part of successful life, giving back. If JP was here right now, he watching. I know he see all this, so I'll just be like, JP, we did it. We did it.